When I first heard about the coronavirus, I was actually on a vacation in Maui. When it came about, I thought, oh, I wonder if it's just like the flu. And by the time I got home from vacation, we were on lockdown. From that point on, I knew it was different.
Very, very surreal. It was like, felt like a science fiction movie. And I knew that there would be some COVID positive patients, but I didn't know it would be my whole unit. And when I walked on, I wasn't expecting every room to be negative pressure, and all the kind of taught the isolation precautions quickly. And it felt like if you didn't do something right, that you could get sick. So it was kind of intimidating, kind of scary.
Having to make that medical memory, that last moment, videotaping it, let them know what's going on, and sending that to the family saying, this is the last moment with the loved one. We will be here the whole time, and sending that last moment to them. That's a hard thing to do. It's devastating to them, to us. And we make it a point on this unit, nobody passes alone. We stay in the room, we hold their hand. Everyone is always with somebody, no one goes alone.
We were putting breathing tubes in, multiple patients getting intubated on a daily basis. On any given shift, you'd have anywhere between 1 and 3 patients that was crashing in front of you, and quickly having to get the breathing tube in and put vascular access in and then flip them over on their stomach and then run to the next crisis.
One of our nurses, her name is Claire, and I believe she probably experienced one of the first deaths on the unit. And I watched her talk to the family and meet them, bring them in. The compassion she had when she cleaned the patient up. And just watching her just floored me. That she was so loving to that woman and cared for her at the end of her life. It was just...
So transitioning from a very specific neuro ICU to, oh my gosh, I don't know what this is, was really hard. You know, we had to figure it out as we went along. It was very unsettling, not knowing, you know, are we gonna have enough PPE?
Coming from neuro, it was boom, boom, boom. This is what you do. This is how you treat it. You knew what to expect. You know, it was very regimented in a sense.
You can confidently tell a family member, you'll be out of here in 2 weeks tops at the worst, you know. This is usually how it goes. But the
learning curve of COVID has definitely shocked and surprised all of us. I mean, even the doctors, we'd all sit back in the room and look at a patient, I haven't seen that before. Okay, what do we do? Let's take a step back. It was before rush, rush, rush. Now it's sit back. Let's evaluate what's happening. We got to be safe. Nothing can be rushed. We have to put our PPE on correctly, get in the room, and do everything cautiously. We have to make sure everybody's safe across the room, and then get in there and work and discover as we're working. Oh, that's new. That's not new. Okay, what do we do? It's
like those
layers.
sweatsuits in the 80s that people used to wear to work out in. It's like that, pretty much.
Wrestlers, they would put on like the plastic and then the sweater over the top, and you're like, wow, this is what it's like to lose 10 pounds in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Back when you put like
Yeah.
the foil suits on and everything.
Especially
And go do
in
the
the
hard
beginning,
work.
because we really didn't want to waste anything. So we would keep it on and we would stay in the room and we're like, we're not leaving this room until everything's done. Because we don't want to dig down and come back in and
Right.
do
Mhm.
this one little ticky-tack thing just to get in PPE again. No. Just sweat and sweat and sweat.
You know, your mind goes through a lot of different thoughts. Like, I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. Or I could be a nurse doing something else, not taking care of the COVID patients. And it's a challenge, you know, and you have to decide if you want to step up or not. And I did, and I wanted to do that. I didn't want to think back and say, you were supposed to do this and you needed to do this, but you didn't do this because you were afraid.
We're learning on the go. We're adapting to policies that are changing every day, but we're doing it with a smile on our face because we're dedicated to helping each other out.
Nursing just in general is a lot of teamwork, but with this going on, it takes a lot of great teamwork, helping one another out, and communication is the biggest thing. As long as we are all communicating with the same information towards everybody, and that is what's helping us get through all this.
Writing backwards on windows.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
We're
become
getting pretty
an
good at
unknown
that.
skill, just because as we've been very fortunate with those masks that were provided to us, but it's very hard to understand each other. You know, you don't want to be touching anything. So we're screaming at each other, saying, what? Like, you know, it sounds like nobody can understand it. Finally, you go to the window, you're like, I need da-da-da-da backwards. They're like, is that an E or an A? It's like, this is what it is. So it was a learning curve on that too, but.
It's getting to know other things like saying this patient, let's say Bill, and that's just a made up name. Understanding Bill likes his face turned to the right rather than the left. It's getting to know someone that has no verbal clues whatsoever, yet if you ask the nurses, they will tell you so many things about that person, even though they have never spoken to them. It's taking what the families share with them and bringing that into the room with them. Your sister called, she wanted to talk about the dog, and then everybody knows the dog's name for this patient. It's really bringing that person to life and communicating with that person even though they haven't spoken to them.
This COVID transition would not have been as successful as it was without that cohesion of a unit that we have and the rapport that we have.
The nurses on my unit are amazing. They care so much. The techs, the respiratory therapists, like the whole entire healthcare team. You know, one of the doctors, I don't think he took a day off for over a month when we first became a COVID ICU. Here every day, people picking up extra shifts, wanting to come in, just, you know, rounding on the unit, like how, you know, we're going in as a team to help treat these patients and they're eager to come in and how's your patient doing? And when we lose one, we cry. It's horrible. So, you know, we care so much and we work so hard. And I love the team that I'm with. Amazing. So many of our nurses have stood there and prayed, me included. Sorry. We are trying. We're trying with all our might, with everything we have, until we just run out of options.
I think the nurses here have done a spectacular job. I think none of them signed up to be COVID nurses.
We have nurses that are sleeping in their like motorhomes and not wanting to take COVID home. But they're still here, you know, and that's the beauty of nurses.
to be caring for someone who potentially has a infection that could lead to your own death should you acquire it, and not being able to have the positive, the uplifting aspects of nursing care, which is human touch and connecting with families and good outcomes, I think has been very challenging, and the ICU nurses have performed spectacularly.
You know, we're wearing our masks and the N100 mask that Barrow gave us, which is even harder to breathe in. You know, we're in those 40 plus hours a week. You can wear it for 45 minutes to go to the grocery store. You'll be okay.
The physicians came in and did their job. The physicians were fewer in number. Many of them weren't here, they weren't needed. Only the lung physicians and the neurocritical care physicians were needed. But all the nurses were needed. The nurses were also the ones who are with the patient constantly. Physicians come and go. A physician may round on the patient and leave. The nurses were there all day, every day, turning these patients, proning these patients, caring for these patients. And so to a physician, to every one of our physicians on the team are really just blown away by what the nursing staff did here during this COVID pandemic. It's really amazing.